gear manufacturing procedure. I have drawn this block diagram, which gives you an idea that how the gears are manufactured in the industries. So first of all, the process starts with the procurement of raw materials. The raw materials is simply the forgings. This diagram shows you that you have initially this type of forgings, which we have formed with the help of forging presses. The first step in the industry is to design the gears. While designing the gears, what you require a module, you require the diameter and number of teeth to be cut into the gear. The first thing is to take the raw material, and then raw material comes in the form of these forgings. Now the second step is the turning and the boring. Boring is used to get this finished hole at the center of your gear blank. Then you have the finishing turning operation. This is your case when you have the turned gear and the bore gear. At this stage, there is no teeth and there is no gear cutting. Then the second step is the teeth cutting operation. So teeth cutting operation, if you remember that you might have cut the teeth in your PT lab with the milling cutter. There are different types of gear cutting operations. We will discuss in our next slides. Then you have teeth cut on the surface. After this, you have finishing operations. Finishing operations are used to remove the burrs and some unwanted edges which are formed during the teeth cutting operations. It is also used to remove some surface irregularities or to impart the required surface finish as you have decided in the design stage. Then after this, the next step is your heat treatment operation. These gears are in continuous motion with each other, and they have to transmit power and motion from one gear to another gear. These gears, teeth are always in meshing with another gear. They should be hard and strong enough to sustain the load which are coming at the pitch circle. Therefore, we have different types of heat treatment process which are used to give required hardness and strength on the teeth surface. You know that heat treatment may lead to the setting up of residual stresses. Moreover, the cutting operations and some gear finishing operation may also impart residual stresses and thermal stresses in the gears. Therefore, short peening operation is used. We have already studied about short peening operation, that it is a process in which you take tiny steel balls or some abrasive media, and that media is bombarded onto the surface of the component, which cause the plastic deformation and surface dimpling. So the dimple will cause the locking of compressive stresses onto the surface. The residual stresses formed in the heat treatment and gear cutting and finishing operations will be nullified with the help of compressive stresses in the short peening operation. Some carbon deposits and some oil and dust and grease can also be deposited on the surface. The gears should be cleaned thoroughly with the help of some cleaning agents. Solvents and detergents are available in the industries, and then you can clean them and have final inspection in terms of the number of teeth which you have cut and what is the error in the profile which you have decided in the designing stage. The same you have obtained, and whatever be the hardness and toughness you have decided and calculated in your designing stage, you are getting the enough hardness and toughness or strength. And this bore or the hole drill at the center of the gear, it is not having any eccentricity, so that it will cause the wobbling of gears when they are mounted on the shaft and they are going to be rotated at very high speed. Final inspection, visual inspection using some gauges, some metrology inspection techniques, they are carried out, and then final inspection is done. And finally, your finished gear are packed and they are distributed into the market. This is the basic gear manufacturing route by which you can manufacture gears of any shape and any size. And not only the final inspection is happening at the end of this process, we have intermediate inspection. Just like that, at the initial stage, when you procure the raw material from some supplier, you first check the inspection by the sampling technique. You take some 10 gears or 100 gears out of a lot, check them visually, and then check the required size that you have given to the suppliers, that whatever the size you have given, they have supplied according and confirm, and it conforms to that required size. There is no any surface defects and some Sometimes some forging defects arise in the forging operations that should not happen. After the turning and boring stage, you check the external diameter and the bore which you have created at the center, it is having the required dimension. Then in the teeth cutting operation, you have the required number of teeth you have cut. You have not damaged any teeth, there is not any chattering mark on the surface, and there is a exact profile you have attained. And there also you have different types of gauges to check the errors in the teeth to have cut in this stage. Even after inspection is done, after the gear finishing operation and heat treatment operation, heat treatment may also result in setting defects in your gear components. And the required case depth, the hardened depth you have achieved as per your design specifications. Even after the short peening, too much of the short peening may also form some unwanted notches onto the surface of the teeth, which will lead to the failure of your gear into the fatigue loading. And in the cleaning stage also, cleaning is done properly or not, the cleaning agents are not disturbing the surface finish and not forming any oxide layer and film. And finally, at the final inspection stage, you have a rigorous type of checking called gear metrology. So we will also discuss the inspection of the gear in our gear metrology, in our metrology subject. And finally, at the packing and distribution, you have the responsibility to pack all the gear components closely into the sealed tight bags. It is being distributed into the market without any damage. And then if some customer feedback is coming from that there is some defect and it is getting failed in the service condition, that information is transferred back to the higher management or to the design department, and they will look on to the problem that is causing the failure of the material. So there is a failure analysis which goes on in every stage of the manufacturing of gears. This is all about the gear manufacturing procedure. So if you like the video, then please subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, and don't forget to hit the bell icon for the latest updates. Thanks for watching my videos.